Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Right, what we're going to do now, he said, hopefully, is we are going to solder up this particular panel. And before we do, we're going to make sure that everything fits nicely. That's it. The first thing to do with any job like this is actually to turn on the soldering iron, because that needs to be blistering hot so that we just touch the solder with it and don't have to fight it. So we turn the iron on. I've done that. Just check, yes, it's on. Then we just have a little sort of, I don't know what the right word is for this. We have a little sort of fiddle about with the lead and just sort of get it how we want it to sit. Now, you can use various methods, you know, horseshoe nails and things to sort of hold this where you want it to be. Or of course you can use bits of timber and such likes. Excuse me while I just adjust everything. Now, the joints themselves, I think they ought to be fairly tightish, but they don't have to be dead tight, because you know we're going to be filling them with some solder. What does have to be certain is that the metal needs to be nice and clean, nice and you know, chemically clean, so that the flux and the solder and what have you will work nicely. And in this state you can see it's still fairly floppy. You know, the lead is still very, very soft. Now, that isn't quite as tight as I want it. Nothing better than a bit of brute force and ignorance. Now, because we are working in lead, we will not be hitting lead, and we certainly won't be hitting glass with any hammers. If there's anything that you feel like hammering, you know, you need to use a bit of timber for it. And just, you know, if there's something that needs adjusting, which there will be, you know, a little bit straightening here and there, use a piece of timber, soft timber, just to move the lead about a little bit. Right, the other thing that we need to know about is fluxing. All of the joints need tallow working into them. And if you don't, then the solder won't run. And I do take a view with this that solder is relatively cheap, tallow is relatively cheap, so don't be tight with it. You know, unsoldering a joint and trying to resolder it is a pain in the neck, so you know, we want to get these right first time. Okay, right, how many of you test your soldering iron by touching? None of you, hopefully. We will touch it with a bit of solder though. Oh, look at that, that's grand. Good and hot. Okay. Now this is actually the other way round to the way that I was taught to solder. I was always taught that you applied the heat to the metal and the solder to the other side of the metal to draw the solder to the heat. But this isn't that sort of soldering. We're actually sort of melting the solder and running it in. He said, hoping that that solder, there we go. Easy when you know how, and no, it's not. It's easier when you practice. I've seen men do this a lot better than I do, and hopefully in 10 or so years' time I'll get it right. Okay, right. Now, just to prove that wasn't a fluke, come out, come on. We'll turn it over. Now, this is where sometimes you're going to find, let's slacken that a bit. Lead, as I say, it's soft and it sort of wanders about and does its own thing. And you do get the chance to give it a little straighten. Just adjust it a little bit here and there just to think how the finished job wants to look. Right, okay. Flux. Right, everything's fluxed. Solder. Now this next joint, I made a little bit of a mistake and I cut the lead a little bit short. So I'm not too worried about that, but I'm going to use a lot more solder to do some gap filling. Well, no one would know. I know. You know now, of course. Right, job done. Job done. Fantastic. Putting the excess solder off the iron, turn the iron off. Put the iron down. And I'm going to put the iron down where you know that later I'm going to put my hand straight on it just to make you lot laugh. There we are. Right, that is all there is to that part of the job. The next part is to get the cement in underneath the lead, and that's a messy job. I'll do some of that after dinner tonight.